Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Indie Beauty TV, which is the 20th episode. Well, actually, Simon and I can call it the 21st because this is our second attempt at recording this session today. My name's Rachel Whittaker. I'm the host of Indie Beauty TV, the founder of the Indie Beauty Delivers community. You can follow me if you like what I do on Facebook. On Instagram, you can go check out the previous Indie Beauty TV episodes on YouTube, and you can join my mailing list, which gets an amazing, very special blog every Monday, and you can go and join that by going on my website. So I have a guest for the second time today. It's Simon, founder of Be Good Skincare, and Simon is here to talk to us because he has recently completed an incredibly successful crowdfunding campaign. And I know when I put questions and mentioned that I was going to be interviewing Simon, we had loads of questions back. So I know this is a topic that for you guys is incredibly important. And so I'm going to hand over to Simon for the second time today. Ask him just to introduce Be Good, put it into a little bit of context and let us know how and why he started a crowdfunding campaign.
Right. So thank you very much. And but perhaps this time now with practice we'll be better at it. Maybe. So so we founded Be Good in 2008 from our kitchen. I'm a beekeeper, and my wife and I started making skincare products, lip balms, hand creams, things like that, as you do. And then we started selling them at school fetes and fairs. Everything sort of took off quite rapidly. And by about 2013, we had got to the stage where we were running events every weekend. And it was either a question of just do it properly or just give up, because it was getting to that point where it was becoming so intrusive that, we had real jobs, real lives. So we took the plunge. I got some money together, and we founded Be Good properly in 2013. We got a listing with Waitrose in 2014, so quite rapidly. We were very lucky in that sense, and we had some great people on board that helped us get there. And we've been with Waitrose now for nearly 5 years. 5 years, actually, more than 5 years. And we are now with Waitrose International in the Middle East and other parts of the world. And we're also online, obviously, through our own website, and we sell through Amazon, both in this country and across Europe. And we're starting to look at our overseas journey, which is why we did the Crowdcube fundraise. So the Crowdcube fundraise was very much about how do we raise money for international expansion. That's what it's all about.
To explore how to get yourself out and into the international market.
Yes. So it's very important to realise we were a mature business. We weren't a startup. So we've been going, we've been going now nearly 10 years.
Yeah.
So we had a track record.
Yeah.
It's very important because there are sort of two groups of people on Crowdcube or those sorts of fundraising websites. And it's important to realise that Crowdcube is a professional fundraising website for companies. It's not like Indiegogo or Kickstarter, which is just anybody who's got an idea. This is very much raising money with investors, with shareholders, down that route. So
this was the platform that you guys chose to use. It sort of was Crowdcube.
Yeah, because we had a product and we had a viable business, and it wasn't just an idea of we've created this new widget. We want people to fund our new widget, which may or may not turn into a business. This is very different. So this is a full-blown business that requires additional capital to expand. And so you go into a completely different mentality. So it's not for the faint-hearted, because you will spend months on this almost full-time. Forget your normal day-to-day business. Unless you've got somebody on to take that over for you, you can't do both. You really cannot do both at the same time. There's just too much on.
Yeah, so it's like a full-time role. And when we were discussing this earlier, I think we were talking about trying to decide which platform to use for crowdfunding.
Yeah.
And you talked about the fact that you spoke to both Crowdcube and
Seeders.
I can say it right this time. Seeders, and you actually talked to them about what they could offer. So you made the decision on who to use based on talking to both of them and finding out how they would support you, how much they would charge. And you maybe played them off a little bit, we were saying, and got a good deal between the two.
Absolutely. We played both off against each other because it became very apparent very quickly, even the initial conversations, that they wanted us to be on their platform. And subsequently, we found out it was because we were a mature business. It's because we were profitable. It's because we had a story to tell. And that's the most important thing. We had a story. And so it very quickly pivoted round. It wasn't, us going, oh, please, can you list us? It was them going, we really want you to list on our platform. And so now we're going around and going, okay, what deal are you going to do us? And that's when you start to horse trading. What are your charges? Because don't forget, they make money out of this system. So their whole existence is about raising funds that they can then claim commission on.
Yeah.
The more they raise, the more commission they get. But they're only willing to work with companies that they feel can go through to a conclusion.
And when we sort of we're talking in our failed attempt earlier on, you said that they were very interested in you because of three main reasons. And one was because you were established. You were through that phase of, are we going to make it? Are we not going to make it? Those first initial years.
Yeah, so they are typically looking for businesses who've been around for sort of 3, 4, 5 years and have got off that initial startup phase and are making money and have a presence. So the nice thing about us, even though obviously we're raising money online, in theory, anybody could go into a Waitrose store and they would see the product on the shelf and they would go, oh yeah, they're real, and you could pick it up and you could buy it and you could take it home and try it. So that was very important in the sense that they didn't necessarily have to sort of, guess or make a big intellectual leap. It was just, well, I can go into a Waitrose and go and have a look at it, and it's there. Okay, that's fine. Tick, real business. Because don't forget, these are investors, and they're looking for a return. So they're going to put some money into your business on the hope that they're going to get money out. Now, not everybody's like that, because some people, particularly in our line of business, where we're very much about looking after the environment and things like that. Some people were just investing because we were nice people looking after the environment and looking after beekeepers and bees and things like that. But you can't go into a crowdfund raise with that sort of mentality. It has to be very, very, very business focused.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're raising money, you are going to take that person's £10 and turn it back into 20 or whatever it's going to be somewhere down the line.
So you had kind of a little bit of power and a little bit of control over who you chose to work with from a platform point of view, because you ticked those sort of three boxes of you were established and past the startup phase, therefore proven to some extent. You're visible, people can go out and buy your products and see them. And I think also you were profitable, you're profitable. And you could prove that to Crowdcube or to whoever you used. And that's also obviously a really powerful reason for them to want to work with you as your crowdfunding partner.
Yes, because don't forget, this Crowdcube thing isn't just based in the UK. In theory, they throw it open to the entire world, and it worked. We got investors from all over the place, but we'll talk about that later. So you've got to have that sort of universality of being attractive to your key audience. The other critical thing that most people don't realise is you have to have 40% of the funds, in effect, in the bank before you start. Because if you think that you can start on zero and people will just keep putting money in, think again, it's not going to work like that. You have to have 40% of the funds in your back pocket, as it were, from your existing investors, or possibly from your existing customer base, because you could potentially go to them in advance. Although there are very strict rules about that, but you could do it. And then once you've got that money in a sort of separate bank account, you can start to feed it into the Crowdcube raise over the initial period, so that psychologically people think, wow, they're doing really well, I'll invest in that business. That's really important, because it's all about crowd mentality.
It's something that you would never that you would never think of unless, and this is why it's so amazing to interview founders who've done things like this. That is something that you wouldn't think of. So what you're saying is that the crowd mentality of crowdfunding, which is why it's called that, means that people are, while excitement is really out there and it's really happening, people are much more likely to invest their money because they see other people investing their money. So you get that momentum.
Absolutely. People want to invest.
you need about 40k ready to initially feed in to get that momentum going.
Yeah, it's a bit like pushing a flywheel, turning a flywheel or pushing a snowball. You've got to basically make it start to roll itself.
Yeah.
And start by feeding that money in, and then people go, wow, they're doing really well. And you'd be surprised how well that works. I mean, we hit our target within 6 days, or 7 days,
Wow.
6.5 days, yeah.
Which is incredible. And I asked this late in last week in our previous attempt at recording this, but I'm going to ask it right at the beginning this time. What was your sort of commitment to raise, and what did you achieve in the end then, Simon?
So we just wanted to raise an initial amount of 100k, because we didn't really know what was, we've never done this before. And it's really important that you go into this mindset of we will succeed, because you cannot fail on this thing. Otherwise you get nothing. And of course, those people who have pledged the original amount of money, if they don't see the thing succeeding, aren't going to give you the 40,000 anyway. So don't do this to patch up your business. If your business isn't sound, you will be found out before you start. So we went in for 100,000 and we raised 260. So 2.6 times what we thought.
That's incredible.
So that's great. Yeah. So we raised two and a half times what we thought we were going to get.
And you raised the point earlier about the fact that when you go for these things, exactly what you were just saying, you're not going to raise that money because without it your business doesn't exist and will fail. You're doing it because actually you can do without the money. You can continue doing what you're doing and you're doing very well and you're profitable, but you want to expand, and this money will help you to achieve that faster. So like you say, it's not patching your business, it's building that business outwards. It's not.
Absolutely. Crowdcube will go through a whole process of due diligence about your business. They will go through your accounts with a fine-tooth comb. They will go through your article of association. They will go through any shareholder agreements. They will go through every single legal document and company house filing and everything to basically prove to themselves and their investors. But don't forget, Crowdcube have a due diligence process in front of their own investors. They have to front to the investors, this is a good company to invest in. So they will go through everything, with a fine-tooth comb, and they'll query everything and check everything. And if you say, for example, like we did, we've been in Waitrose since 2014, they'll say, prove it. Show me the contract. I want to see, show us a copy of the contract. Any claim you make, our sales have gone up this amount this year, prove it. Show me your website results. Show me your accounts. Show me your sales increase. You said it went up 90% year on year. Show me,
Yeah. So this is super. I mean, this is super professional stuff. This is working with real investors through a platform which supports real investors. And as such, they work similar to banks, is what we were saying, isn't it? They have certain legal processes and due diligence that they have to carry out on you as a company, but also on people who are offering to invest in you. They do a similar due diligence back the other way.
Yes, they do it on two sides, both you as the business and the investors themselves, and both have to pass before the money can flow. So it's very important. I mean, you basically, you're standing there naked, in effect, with your business going, here I am,
Warts and all.
Exactly, warts and all, my warts, and that's, so it's really important that you have to be prepared to do that. Yeah. So we spent the best part of 6 months in preparation before we got anywhere near doing this, because we had to make sure that all the company's house filings were correct. We had to make sure that all the accounts were up to date. Any anomalies we had to go through and work out what they were there for, and go back and prove why it was that and not what it was supposed to be.
And that's an interesting point, because I think you kind of think, we're going to do a sort of a crowdfunding campaign. But what we're saying is actually your crowdfunding campaign doesn't start with the day that you kind of put it out there that you're crowdfunding. You need to kind of reverse engineer that at least 6 months back. Firstly, to find the platform that you want to use. Secondly, to do all their due diligence.
Yes.
And for a third reason, to prepare your own sort of marketing as far as how you're going to get that crowdfunding out there as well.
Yeah, when we spent an enormous amount of effort on the marketing, and there were different groups. So we marketed to our existing customer base, and we marketed to our existing email base, which of course is not the same thing. There are people on the email base who have already bought, and they're just interested in you because you're beekeepers or whatever it might be. So those two segments. Then you've got the Crowdcube investor. Now, don't forget, Crowdcube gathers investors globally. So I think, off the top of my head, it's 300,000 or maybe even 500,000 individuals that are registered on the Crowdcube platform as being investors. So you need to produce a pitch for those people that Crowdcube will do on your behalf. You've also got to then pitch to the social media audience, which may never have heard of you before. And then you've got to pitch to the people coming, just tripping over you, as it were, through Crowdcube that may or may not want to put money into you. So you've got to segment your audience and come up with a different, not the different messages, but appropriate messages used appropriately for those groups. And some maybe international even, so it'll be a slightly different spin. You also need to make sure that every second day you have, in that 30-day period, every second day you've got something to say, something positive that you've lined up before. So we crossed over our year end. So we basically said, oh, we've done this much over this year than we did over last year. And Crowdcube go prove it. So you've got to put all the stuff online and actually show. And if everything, any statement you make on that platform during that process has to be proved, and you've got to back the evidence up. So Crowdcube will ask you to see whatever it is, your sales figures, before they'll make that marketing statement live, or that little thing, and that's on their platform. So you're marketing now on the Crowdcube platform to people who have already invested, because some people will come online and just put the money in, and you'll be marketing to people who are followers, and those are people who are sort of interested in what you're doing but are not prepared to put the money in just yet. They're the ones that sort of, your warm leads in effect. So we had about 800 of those.
Okay.
And
so crowdfunding typically runs, your campaign typically runs for 30 days. You go live on day one, and then you have 30 days on that platform. And so that's the intense marketing period. And I think what you were saying is you spent a lot of time before that saying, okay, we've got this 30-day window plus a little bit either side, and we need to be putting out marketing content with a positive message every 2 days throughout that period. And that was planned before you even launched. You knew what was going out on what date before you even started, and that was going out internally within the Crowdcube kind of marketing process, but also going out within your own email marketing group and your own social media channels.
Yes, absolutely. But obviously what you have to do is, as circumstances change, you then might put in a different spin because something came in, so we won an award. So that came in, at that particular time and knocked out the previous message that was planned, or, we went over a month end. And so on that month, we were actually 90% up on the previous, on the same month the previous year. So we made a thing about that. So it's not completely rigid, but you have to have something to say.
Yeah, you need to be focused and pre-planned, but then you need to be able to add in the excitement that happens as a result of things that are happening live during that crowdfunding time.
Exactly,
and that's what you were particularly good at, that I could see. I mean, I saw you doing a lot on LinkedIn where there were obvious updates which were entirely live. It was about the success of how quickly you'd raised money. It was about the fact that you'd raised what you wanted. So now these were the other goals that you were going for. And there was always this excitement and this momentum, and you always knew something was happening with you. You never let it go quiet, basically.
Yeah, it is. This is why it's a full-time campaign, because you can't, I was up at 3 a.m. Just answering, because don't forget, it's a two-way street. So those 800 odd followers, not all of them, but quite a number of them will ask questions. And it might not just be something you go, oh yeah, it's like this. They'll ask detailed questions. In 2017, you're in your financial results, you put this number. Why did you put that number in? And you're like, I don't bloody know.
Yeah, and that's coming through on the crowdfunding portal, so they can ask you. People who are potentially interested can come through the portal and can ask you questions direct, which
that's
you then
visible.
have to respond to.
And that's visible to every follower.
Right. Yes.
So you're a follower. You asked me a complicated financial question from 2017. That question appears in the sort of flow of questions that everybody can see, and they get notified that there's a new question, right? So now 800 people are going, oh yeah, I wonder what he did in 2017.
Yeah, I would ask that as well.
Yeah. So you better be bloody sure that you can actually answer those questions and have everybody lined up so you can go back to your accountant and go, do not go on holiday.
Yeah. Okay, it's kind of like a bit of a Dragon's Den thing, isn't it? In that you have to be prepared to answer some very, they could be really serious accounts questions. But like you say, you need your accountant to produce those answers for you because it's not something that's your cup of tea, really.
Yeah.
And I guess the speed, you need to be on it because you need to be looking like you're answering those questions quickly and that you're not digging around in the background trying to find information, or you're not bothering to answer.
Yeah, and that can be a global audience. So, of course, their time zone is different from yours. So you just got to be on it all the time.
Hence the 3 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, it was a complete grind. You know, it was just by the end of the 30 days, I just wanted to lie down in the dark room for a week. But
yeah, which is what I did after our first video failed. I curled up under my desk and shed a few tears. But that's very, that's really, really interesting. And a lot of the questions that we got in around this topic were on the marketing side of things. So let's just look at that in a little bit more detail. So within the crowdfunding platform, people can come on and they can read your blurb. And they can just hit the button that allows them to pledge something, or they can hit a button which says, I think I might be interested in this.
Yeah.
So you're then able, and all that data is stored by Crowdcube, and you can then design sort of information and content that can go to both of those groups.
Yes.
Presented in a slightly different manner internally within Crowdcube.
Yeah, but it's got to be pre-vetted by Crowdcube. So don't expect it to go immediately because Crowdcube will need to check. So if you make a claim in any of those emails, you've got to prove it. So you've got to write emails potentially that you don't have to prove.
Yeah.
Or you've already got your proof built into the email, see this web page, see that thing there, so because otherwise that creates another delay of maybe 24 hours while Crowdcube are basically validating what you've just said.
Yeah, okay. And one of the things that came through was that obviously just because, so you've got this group of people who are thinking about it, so you're delivering great positive messages and you're persuading them there. And then you've got this other group who said, actually, I'm going to pledge. But you raised a really good point earlier, and you said that at that point, they've said they'll pledge, but the money isn't collected from them until the end of the 30 days.
Yes.
So there's still a chance for them to not pledge, but there's also a chance for them to put in more money. So that marketing to that little segment within Crowdcube is really important.
Yes, so we had quite a few investors who put in 2 or 3 times their original amount. So they might have started in putting £100, and they put another £100, and they went, I'll put another £100 in. I had people going, well, I put my money in, and I've just persuaded my sister. She's going to put some money in too. Or my friend's going to put some money in because we like what you're doing. And I've been talking to my group in the WI, and we're all, it would all be that. Yeah. So the critical thing is you've also got to have a video. Don't forget that one of the big selling points on the Crowdcube page is your video, and that's essential.
And every brand on there has to have one.
Absolutely, it is absolutely critical. I don't think you can actually go on the Crowdcube platform without one. I don't think. But anyway, yeah, you've got to have a video, and that video needs to be produced by people who know what they're doing. Because this is not an average sort of, look at me, I'm a beekeeper video, or look at how much money we're making video. This is give me your money video. It's almost like, back in the day, Bob Geldof going, give me your money. It's a bit like that. So we were talking to Crowdcube, and they recommended a list of video producers. We went with one that had apparently raised something like 20 million in Crowdcube funds over quite a period of years, and those three guys knew exactly what they were doing, you know. So we felt,
they know the formula. They know the formula that works for
yeah,
these.
they wrote the script. They literally wrote the script for us. So we went through 2 or 3 iterations of the script where we asserted all of our credibility and our beekeeping stats and all this sort of stuff and the company stats, and they wrote the script for us, where we would insert, you know, we did this in this year and we did that in that year and this we're profitable this way.
Fact, yes.
Which they then put into little animations and they overlaid on top of the videos. So, you know, they videoed us in the apiary with the bees and everything else like that. It was great with the bee sits and everything. But underneath it was a hard set of numbers. And in fact, they were very professional. They turned up with a teleprompter. So when I was looking at the camera, underneath the camera was a screen with my own words, and I could just read my own words.
Really, I'd have been like, oh, thank God for that. That makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, so the video is very important. But the other critical thing is we then went back to them, the video people afterwards, and they re-edited the video so we could then use it on our corporate website as a standard corporate video, you know, because it was a lovely, well-produced 4K video that we'd spent a lot of money on, so why not repurpose it and take that content and reuse it elsewhere? So we took out, you know, more the sort of more, the more detailed stuff and just made a standard, they edited out of it a standard corporate video.
Yeah, which is brilliant, because it just means that any money that you're investing yourself in the campaign, you're able to reuse and repurpose that as well.
Yeah, because don't forget, you've got to have a budget before you even start this process. And we had a budget of around about 15,000.
Right. Okay.
Which we
and that includes all essentially having the video made, marketing. Does that include the cut that Crowdcube or the relevant platform will take?
That was very cheap. The video cut, the extra video was like 180 quid for them to edit the video down into a sort of sanitized version that we could use elsewhere. But the main expense was the video. It was preparation. It was so unusually we were told that that Facebook isn't really suitable for this type of platform, you know, for fundraising. We ignored that and put money into fundraising or promoting our Crowdcube fundraise through Facebook, and that worked really well. So we got about a 8-to-1 return on that, which is phenomenal. And that was through Facebook ads, putting some money and budget behind Facebook ads, which were promoting your crowdfunding. Yeah. Which is quite unusual, because obviously normally you would use Facebook for your ads and promoting you, the business, and this particular product or this particular campaign. But we did it for fundraising, and it was surprisingly successful. Of course, the other key thing is we can track those people who are looking at our page and match them against the ones that are either in the investor list or the following list. Yes, and I was about to say that if you're using Facebook, then you can use all their pixel tracking stuff, which goes a little beyond my expertise. But it does mean that you can look at who's doing what and potentially retarget them and contact them and things. So that's interesting, and it's also just really interesting to know that be able to track and say Facebook generated this much of a return and got us this much worth of investment. I think the only reason we got that, I think, was because we had an interesting story to tell, which comes back to you've got to be different. Yeah. Why should I give you my £100? What's different? Because these people will go onto Crowdcube and they may look at half a dozen different videos or half a dozen different pitches for half a dozen different businesses. What makes you stand out amongst all the breweries and the computer people and people doing this, that, and the other? What makes you stand out? Why should I give you my £100? Either I'm giving you £100 because I like you, and I think you're doing really good stuff with bees, or I'm going to give you my £100 because you're going to give me an investment back, or both. Hopefully both. Yeah, there's like two different motivations, isn't there? Or three. There's either you're going to make me some money, and I think you're going to make me some money. I really support and ethically agree with what you do as a business. And then there's the people who respond to both of those. Yes. And I guess part of that, we were talking about that 6-month sort of lead time up to that launch and the preparation, the huge amounts of preparation that you went through to get to that point. And I mean, we listed, I think you listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
6 different things earlier, and I think the first one that you mentioned was the fact that you need to have your story. You need to really know, what makes you different, and how to tell that story.
Yes, that's really important. And of course, we had it backed up with the fact that we've got 5 years worth of blogs and videos and press and all that sort of stuff. And the other thing is, you've got to get if you do have a PR team, get them on board very early on so they know what's going on and how to then push what you're doing.
And that's really interesting, because one of the things that you say is good about where you were when you went crowdfunding was this fact that you were established, that there was a period of time that you'd been out there and you'd gone through that startup phase, so that you were a good bet for people when it came to investing. But also, as part of those years that you've built your business, there's so much information out there about you and that you've generated through your amazing blogs. And you've always been a really visible sort of founder, Simon. You're always there. We know, we've all seen you in your bee kits, and you regularly blog, and you're always putting out interesting content, useful content, and story-led content. And that's incredibly useful when you come to crowdfunding, because people obviously go and look at you, they go and research you. If they're interested in investing, they go and have a look at what you've done and where you've been and the type of content that you've created.
Yes.
That all adds to that story element, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So they go through all the things that you've ever done and realise that because it's dated back to 2014 or whatever, that maybe you've got some sort of solidity there. I mean, the other really fascinating thing was once we started launching on Crowdcube, we had a completely different sort of PR audience, and that was the financial people interested in companies raising money on Crowdcube. Because we were raising money on Crowdcube, we had a whole different audience of people coming to us going, oh, here's a company raising money on Crowdcube and they're beekeepers. Well, that's kind of interesting. So we had the beekeeping group looking at us raising money as beekeepers, and the financial group going, oh, there's people raising money on Crowdcube.
And I guess maybe investors who are looking to get involved in the beauty industry as well. So you kind of reach a whole, lots of different audiences, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, one of my directors is quite a force in the payments industry, and he simply strong-armed all the CEOs of all the big payment companies and went, come on, put money in BeGood, put money in BeGood, and literally went around and strong-armed them all for $5,000 and just went, come on, you can afford 5,000, so going to the chief executive of MasterCard or people like that, people who are, extremely wealthy, and it just literally, he badgered them to the point where they gave him money just to make him go away,
But I think if you're going to put yourself out there to raise money, then you have to put yourself out there to raise money. It's the same whether you crowdfund or whether you go for investment rounds. You have got to knock on doors. That's part of the hard work, I think.
And the other thing that's critical for Crowdcube and those crowdfunding things is it's all or nothing. This is really important. If you don't hit your target, you get nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Okay. So you really have got to, it is all or nothing. You really have.
If you don't hit 100% within 30 days, all the pledges just become pledges. It doesn't become money. It all goes away.
Okay. So this is why, and this goes back again to what you were saying earlier on, in that this is a full-time job. When you decide to crowdfund, you dedicate your life to it, because you have to hit that total. And
yes.
You have to do everything in your power to hit that total.
Yeah, so do not go for stupid amounts of money. Number one, Crowdcube won't even let you on the platform, and they'll think you're just doing it.
Good point.
And number two,
it needs to be achievable. You need to be able to, get that. Yeah.
Some is you have to have 40% already.
Yeah.
So the bigger you go for, the more 40% you have to have. So if you think you're going to raise, £1 million, good luck, but you're going to need 400,000 to start with. So it's very much like
that. Definitely makes it. Yeah.
Don't forget, we talked about this. It's very important. Again, these are pledges. They're not real cash until the end of the scheme. So you have to support your pledges all the way through the process until they actually give you their money.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is really important, because there's no reason for them to give you their cash if you sort of stop being nice to them midway through because you think you've got their money. No, you haven't. You only get their money at the end of the process. And don't forget, those individual investors have to pass the KYC, the Know Your Customer rules, the financial rules and regulations around investment.
Yeah, so this is the due diligence that the Crowdcube or crowdfunding platform will do that protects you, as in it will only take money from genuine investors who pass certain tests in line with bank legislations and laws.
Yes, so large amounts of money coming from Colombia will probably be rather frowned upon.
Yes, that's a good point. So yes, that exists to protect you as a brand, the same way that they do the due diligence on you as a brand to protect the investors.
So it's not things like money laundering and stuff like that. But I mean, we're talking about relatively small sums of money in some cases. But don't forget, we had people lumping in £20,000.
Yeah, I mean,
and that becomes very serious at that point.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. So having your story and visibly having told your story for a time and to know your story really well is part of that preparation. You mentioned it earlier, you've got to have your accounts, your finances, your legals, your documentations, your affiliations, anything like that. You need to have that absolutely checked and available to hand over for the due diligence.
And also tell your retailers what you're doing.
Oh, okay.
Because they can help you raise money. So if you could get a promotion going with your retailers at the same time you're doing crowdfunding, even better, because then there's more and more, reach.
More. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, we didn't mention that earlier. Whoa, we're on a real roll now. And let me just think where we were going, where we want to go next. So let's talk about the marketing, because a lot of the questions that came in were around the marketing. So that one of the first questions was about how did you build your own email list in advance of your campaign? And I think we've hinted already that obviously you've got a good number of years worth of sort of being a brand, which has helped you to build your own email list. Yeah. But you were also using customers from the back of your website and details like that.
Yeah, so we've got, like most businesses, we have in effect two mailing lists. We have the existing customer base that have actually bought from us, and we have people who are interested in us, the followers. And so we segment them and decide which messages we're going to send to them in terms of how we approach them. Mm-hmm. We can approach them beforehand, subject to Crowdcube's okay, with a sort of wind-up promotion. We're going to go crowdfunding. We'd love you to become an investor. Do this, do that. And the other critical thing is we offered various rewards to different level of investors, like little teasers. So
okay.
if you invested £1,000, we would send you some gift packs that you could then give out to your friends. And those, by the way, will contain referrals, so we can help them generate more for us. If you put in a fair chunk of money, I think it was more than 5,000. Was it 5 or 10,000? I can't remember now. But we would basically take you out to come and see the bees. We'd give you a year's worth of honey, and we'd also give you a cream tea. So you'd come down for the day, see the bees, have a nice experience that money can't buy, and then we'd give you a nice cream tea and a nearby posh hotel.
Yeah.
That
so
is quite nice.
You're providing sort of added benefits that they can't buy anywhere else.
That's what you want to do. Yeah, you want to take somebody who's thinking about investing £1,000 and get them to invest 1,500, because they go over to the next level of goodies. If I invest an extra £500, I'll get this. I'll put the extra £500 in.
Yeah.
Those key
upselling on your website, or offering free delivery over a certain price, isn't it? It's just like
same game.
A bit further.
The same game. You just want to tip them over the edge and upsell them in effect. But don't forget, once they are your shareholder, they are your brand ambassador.
Mm.
So if you've got somebody willing to spend £5,000 in investing in your business, you hang on to those people with both hands, and you be very, very nice to them, because I bet you they will know lots of other people who've got £5,000 to invest.
Absolutely, yeah.
So the next time you go to Crowdcube, or the next time you want to do a fundraise, that £5,000 start networking all over the all over the place. to
Yeah.
get more money. So
absolutely. And I guess Crowdcube or the relevant platforms will always retain data on your crowdfund. So should you decide to do a second round of crowdfunding at a later date and you return to the same platform, the interest that was there originally in you is still stored there. So you can begin to network back into that. Plus you've got your new however many investors who by that time will have seen returns on their investment and see how much more business how much your business has grown, and they will be shouting to their friends about they're doing it again, they're raising again, you can get in now.
Yes, because we've now got 800 followers and a group of around 480 actual investors. So I've now got 480 new brand ambassadors that want to promote my business for their own selfish reasons, because if they promote my business, they get, in effect, to get a dividend. And they are global. They are everywhere. I've got investors in Peru, Japan, the Philippines, Indonesia, Canada, all over the world. And I can reach out and touch those people. So if at some bizarre reason I wake up in the middle of the night going, let's go and take Be Good into Peru, I can mail my Peru contacts and go, what's the Peruvian market for bee-based skincare? And, they'll tell me. Then they'll say, well, Simon, it's actually, don't bother, or, it's really hot. You should sell your product over here. And so, that's a powerful network.
Yeah, you're accessing... you're increasing your own network and accessing sort of expertise in different places that perhaps you wouldn't normally be able to access. And even if when we spoke earlier, you were talking about Germany, even if it's just sort of saying, hey, look, what retailers or distributors should I be working with in Germany?
Yes, who do you buy from? This is what I've done. I've gone out to those people and said, I know you buy direct from Be Good, and that's really nice of you, but if you were to go to a shop, which shop would you expect to see us in? And it's just great to do a little survey and see what they think.
Yeah.
Because we've got the funding. The other thing is I forgot to mention, when you go into this process, have a very good idea of what you're going to do with the money. I know it sounds stupid, but so you go, because people will say to you, well, what are you going to do with the money? Well, you better have a damn good answer. not, well, actually, I'm going to blow it all on parties. No, I'm going to invest it here and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. The other critical thing is, don't just think about what you're going to raise, but think about what you're going to do with the money if you raise more than that. Because instantly, as soon as you go over the initial threshold of 100%, the next question people say is, well, now you're raising 150 or 200, whatever it is, what are you going to do extra? And so have you in your mind a pre-plan of, so this is what we did. We had a spreadsheet and we listed out, in £50,000 lumps after up to $500,000, which was ridiculous, what we would do with the money, and more importantly, and this is critical, what the dilution would be on the existing shareholder base. Because don't forget, these new shareholders are buying shares in your business, and therefore the existing shareholder base will get diluted. So they will probably not let you go more than, say, 20% in your share base. So if your share base is £100,000 or whatever it is, you cannot raise beyond that. So you can only raise, in effect, 20% of your equity to Crowdcube users. That's a really important point, because if you try and do more than that, two things could happen. One is your business starts to become unstable because you've got all these potentially those investors through Crowdcube now own a substantial part of your business and can then start to tell you what they want you to do.
Okay.
What you want to do. So whilst so the important thing is this: when you do the fundraise, there are two groups of shareholders on the Crowdcube platform typically. You can either class them all as the same, or you can class them as A's and B's. A shareholders are typically people putting in large amounts of money. In our case, I think it was £4,000 or £5,000 each. If you put in £4,000 or £5,000 or more, you became an A shareholder. That meant you had voting rights, and you were probably a sophisticated investor, what they call a sophisticated investor, so you could manage your own account. Fine. So you have your vote and your account. If you invest less than that, you become a B-class shareholder. You fall into the whole Crowdcube that's the wrong word, bucket, but the whole Crowdcube group, and you get managed as one shareholder, in effect, to us. So in fact, Crowdcube become a shareholder representing, all with a nominee account, all those small investors.
Yeah.
Hundreds of small investors. So the hundreds of small investors can still approach you individually and will still expect a reply, but politically, as it were, they don't have that much power.
Yeah.
And again, it's very important when you raise these funds that you make sure you don't lose power in terms of your ability to run the business the way you want to run it.
And when you are sort of in the sort of talks with the crowdfunding platform that you decide to use, these are the sorts of things that you can be asking about, and they should be talking to you about how you wish to manage these sorts of things, I guess.
Yes, they'll go. Be prepared to be asked lots of questions about your shareholding and equity value and dilution and all these sorts of questions that you need to have.
A learning curve, it sounds like to me.
Yes, because you need to understand about company law and company structure. And we were very lucky. So we're a member of the Federation of Small Businesses, and we were able to basically tap up their lawyers for free just by making a phone call.
Oh, that's a good tip.
And then, and then getting put through to a company law specialist who would then say, well, under whatever it was of the Companies Act, you need to do this or you need to do the other. Crowdcube will help to a certain point, but you need to stand on your own feet too.
There's you have a responsibility to have an understanding of. But that's a good tip. So that's the Small Business Federation. Yeah,
Federation of Small Businesses, the FSB. It's a few £100s, but you get free legal advice, and it's very useful because.
For something like this, it would easily pay itself back quite quickly. I would imagine.
You could spend thousands on lawyers. I mean, that's the other thing you need to do. Is you need to prepare. You need to make sure your existing shareholders, are happy in what you're doing. And are willing to support it. Because if your existing shareholders aren't willing to support it, you're going to have a real fight on your hands to get it through. Yeah.
And there was one other thing that we were talking about, which sort of falls into this sort of area as well. There is a sort of a scheme which is called EIS, I think, isn't it? Which is actually a great marketing tool because it allows people who invest in you to get a certain amount of a tax rebate against the amount that they've invested in you.
Yeah, I mean, it's also important because that gives you credibility. So basically, EIS is a scheme run by the HMRC, running by the government. And you apply to register for EIS. If you're a very small business, a startup, it's something called SEIS, which is startup. But typically, you won't do that because if you're that small, you really shouldn't be crowdfunding. But EIS is very important. So you register to HMRC for EIS. They will check you internally. They will check you through VAT, through various other processes, Companies House, etc., to make sure that they think you're a valid person to put money into, because there previously have been some dodgy schemes that people have tried to run through EIS. So there again is an internal due diligence process going on within HMRC. Very quickly, within a matter of weeks, they'll give you your EIS certificate. You then present that to Crowdcube, and that means then that officially any British investor putting money into your business can claim back, basically won't pay any tax on any dividends that you produce because you're successful. You won't have to pay capital gains tax, and if you do fail, they'll be able to claim back some of their investment back against their personal tax bill. So it works both.
I was going to say it's like a double whammy, because the fact that you have registered with the EIS scheme means that the HMRC have vetted you, which means that you are worth putting forward for the scheme. So you get that kind of benefit that you can use to kind of market it as a marketing deploy in there. But also you are able to give certain guarantees through EIS to investors, which again makes an investment much more attractive.
Yeah, most serious investors are not going to touch you if you're not EIS. That's simply why would I bother? Because I've got no protection.
No protection.
And I've got to pay tax on dividends. So, what on earth why would I do that,
Yeah, so it's a part of the essential pre-planning 6 months kit then, Simon, isn't it? Yes. That's got to be part of what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And all your marketing and gear, all your business has to be clean in terms of your shareholding base and all that sort of stuff. It's very easy over time in the initial years to sort of forget about those sorts of things. and then they come back and bite you on the bum when you go back for due diligence, and they go, "What about this?" And you have to sort all that out before you could even present yourself on Crowdcube.
Yeah. There's a lot of planning and sort of thought that's gone into it. But I think it shows that with that thought and planning, you can have the sort of successes that you've had.
Yeah.
So we use email marketing. We've used the email marketing and updates that are available within the Crowdcube platform. We've used our own email marketing, and I think you also use LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You do Facebook advertising and also Facebook on your page.
Yeah. So LinkedIn was very much about the business. What is the business doing? Facebook is very much about come and invest in the bees. So they're very different audiences. Also, because we hit our initial target in 7 days, that itself became a story.
Yeah.
Look how successful we are. We've raised our money in 7 days. So
which was the story which I got hold, which made me recognise you were doing it. It was actually that it was a post that I saw which said you'd hit it within the 6 days, and I was like, oh, I didn't realise, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And that was on LinkedIn that I spotted that.
Yeah, so we basically posted almost every day because it was hitting at such a rate. It was going up at such a rate. It was like first day, I can't remember what it was now, 60%. Second day, 70%. Day 4, 85%. And there are peaks and troughs depending on the days of the week as well. That's the other interesting thing. You see investments coming in at weekends and sometimes on weekdays. Again, public holidays, things like that. So you do see things in a strange way, but as soon as you hit that target, you've succeeded because you're going to get that money, hopefully. But also, it's another means of using marketing to say, look how successful we are. Wow, we've raised this in a week, and we've got another 3 weeks to go.
Yeah.
Then it just becomes a moment of how hard can we push this? How much money do you think we're actually going to end up with? Yeah.
And it is about being, it is about being visible, isn't it, Simon? And you are a brand who is very visible. We've said that, but
it's about responding.
About that.
Yeah, the other thing is you've got to reply to every single message that comes in from every single platform.
Yeah.
So you get message from LinkedIn, from Facebook, from Instagram, emails, customers, through the Crowdcube site, and you've got to respond to all of these within hours.
Yeah.
To happy.
It is not for the faint-hearted. This is. I mean, and we said this, didn't we? This is a real sort of very professional and a very considered decision. If you're going to go crowdfunding and you want to make this a success, and you have to because you've got to hit your target to get anything back, you really have to go in. It's all or nothing. It's all guns blazing, and it really is. It's going to be a good 9 months. Sort of 9 months or sort of your life, really, I guess.
Yeah, and the other thing that's really important is don't forget this makes you professional business. You may not have been professional business to start with. By the time you've gone through all this due diligence, you will be professional. You'll be knocked into shape whether you like it or not, and you come out the other side as a professional business with a proper article associations and proper shareholders and proper meetings and board meetings. They have to be minuted. And you've got to produce shareholder reports. We're going to do it every quarter, and that's ongoing, and that will carry on. So we are suddenly now a proper business, and we're even more of a proper business because we now have the shareholder base of an extra 500 users, 500 shareholders that want to know what we're doing. In the past,
you're accountable to them, aren't you? So there's all sorts of things.
I mean, most small companies might have half a dozen shareholders. Suddenly, you've gone from half a dozen to 500, and that's a different ball game because any of them can ask a relevant question at any time and will expect an answer.
Yeah,
they won't all do that. The whole point is you manage that process by, again, managing your messaging so that you message out to this special group of users who are your investors. Look how well we're doing, and they get stuff that the rest of the general public doesn't see.
Yes. So once they've invested, they're constantly kept up to date with
your successes and what you're doing and your plans for this market. Oh, by the way, we're attending this trade show in America or Germany or wherever.
Yeah.
Yes, if you're in there. Now, that's not sort of general message you give to the public, but it's something your shareholders want to know about. Because don't forget, they are networked.
Yeah, I was going to say, and that goes back to that brand advocate point, doesn't it? In that if they continually see how well you're doing, they are talking to their own networks, who are normally made up of a similar type of person to them. And the next time that you do some fundraising or crowdfunding, they're talking to their friends about coming in as well, and they want the same action that they've had.
Into multiple individual investor networks who themselves network to other investors.
Yeah, so that's a really interesting point that you've got the so actually when you do something like crowdfunding, it actually never stops, in that you've got your planning, you've got your campaign, and then even when you seal the deal and you get all the money in, your marketing continues to those shareholders all the time, ready for the next time that you do crowdfunding. So it puts you into just a whole different league.
Yeah, they are now your best friends.
Yeah.
Because they want you. If you ask them for a little bit of help, they'll give it to you. Why would they not?
Yeah. And there's all sorts of skills, I guess, that they can have also, which is, you're just widening that network, which we were.
Yeah, so you go out to all the ones in Germany and go, we'd like to have a presence in Germany. Who would you suggest we talk to?
Yeah, it's fascinating, but it is. Yeah, it's not just a commitment for that time. It's actually a complete change of the way that you run your business. But it brings with it so many benefits, with added sort of networks and expertise and things. So I think that's a really interesting point.
With you're like a mini PLC with 1,800 new shareholders that want you to run the business in a certain way.
Yeah, I'm quite excited by it. Obviously, I will never do anything like this. I have no need to, but it's quite exciting. I'm like, oh, this is, there is an excitement sort of in that, and what you can then go on and do with the money. So, what was the most significant thing you did? Do you think that made your campaign so successful? If you had to nail down the key piece of advice,
plan. Absolutely plan everything. One of my directors is spent 25 years in the advertising industry. Mm-hmm. He helped me write copy that just sold. There's a special sauce that people have where they can write something that makes people really keen on something. And so he wrote all our headlines he wrote about 20 headlines in advance. And then filled in the text and added bits and pieces, and then got the pictures ready and everything else like that. So that was really important. And the other thing is you've just got to dedicate yourself to it, because you will not be able to run the business and do this at the same time. You've got to have the bandwidth to say to somebody else, right, you just run the things day to day, focus on this, because it will be 12 hours a day of answering queries of this, that and the other. Things get fired at you constantly, and you've got to respond with whatever intelligent answer you can think of.
Yeah, so it's just it's very intense, which is made slightly easier if you are very well prepared and you've got your content marketing plan sort of pre-written and you know what you're doing, but you're ready to jump in with all those big wins just to keep the momentum and the excitement coming through.
Yeah, it was really nice because, within the first week we knew we'd hit our targets. There's a big sort of sense of relief. And then it's of how hard can we push this?
Yeah, and then it's just like, well, let's just go for broke now because we know we've done it, so let's just go for broke.
Target. Let's just keep pushing and see what happens. Let's just be more outrageous and let's see what comes out of it.
Yeah, which was considerably more on your side.
2.5 times what we thought.
Yeah, exactly. What was your biggest surprise while you did the crowdfunding? What had you not expected that suddenly started happening?
Global reach. Just the fact that there were these people coming from all over the world. And the other important thing is then that there's people coming in who are investing for their own reasons. And that, for example, we've had distributors investing in our business going, I've invested whatever it was, £500, I can't remember what it was now, in your business. I'd like to be your distributor in Indonesia. Or I'd like to be your distributor in Nepal. I'd like to be your distributor here, there, or whatever. I have one guy. I've just invested some money into you. Will you use me for your social media? Well, thank you, but no.
Yeah, okay.
The guy who's a distributor in Indonesia really is a distributor in Indonesia.
That's one way of trying to get new business.
Interesting because he just came back and said, right, I've invested in your business. I think your brand will do really well in Indonesia. come and talk to me. So now we're talking to him about potentially distributing in Indonesia and all the processes we'd have to go through, which is great, but completely out of left field.
And not something that you'd. I don't think anybody would anticipate that that's the sort of thing that would be happening through it.
The other thing I think that's really interesting. A couple of weeks ago, we did the Make It British Live show. So we had a little booth at the Make It British Live show because we're obviously a British brand, and we had 3 or 4 people coming up to us going, "I've invested in you," and it was really nice. It was lovely. It was like, "I've invested in you," and there you are. Sort of they shook my hand and we had a chat and a cup of tea, and it was lovely. Gave
Oh, I like that. How nice to be able to, because sometimes it can be a bit faceless, I guess. So that is really, really nice to be able to meet some of the people who have faith in you. So that is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. Right. So have we covered everything that we covered earlier? What was your last point when we did the recording that we lost? Because it was brilliant.
I think the last point was the fact that you don't get the money to the end. You've got to push all the way through. Even when you get to the end, not everybody will pass due diligence.
Oh, yes, that was it.
So we've got about £500 that we won't get because these people couldn't pass the anti-money laundering rules and regulations.
Yes. Oh, and I remember something else we talked about as well. You pointed out that you also don't get all of the money you raise because some of that money goes to pay the Crowdcube or the crowdfunding platform for hosting you.
Yeah.
Some of it goes on your marketing budget, on your video, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, be prepared to lose 10%-ish, maybe more, to the platform in terms of commission. Mm-hmm. So, whatever you raise is not what you get. Mm-hmm. So just be aware that when you do your planning, obviously you've negotiated up front what the deal is, and you've signed on a dotted line with Crowdcube or Cedars or whoever. And we thought we drove quite a hard bargain. We were quite lucky because they wanted us. So it was us then going back to them and going, well, if you really want us, this is the sort of deal we want. Mm. We want 0 commission on the first X, and then we'll pay some commission on the rest. Mm-hmm. Because they didn't, it was quite funny because they didn't, I don't think they realised just how much money we'd raised ahead of schedule. Mm. I'll let you into a little secret. We'd actually raised almost all the 100,000 before we'd even started.
Yeah. So that's good because the result of that hard work you did in that planning phase resulted in 2.5 times what you'd asked for. So
yes, it was really nice. My directors just went out and banged the drum.
Yeah.
On their own contacts and just went around all their friends that were very high wealthy individuals, just going, come on, give us $5,000, give us 10 grand.
Yeah.
If you can afford it, why don't you invest in this business? And people were just going, oh, all right, go away. Okay, here's your $5,000.
Yeah, it's about getting out there, isn't it? It is about getting out there. It is about getting out there. But I think it is key to remember that some of that money is siphoned off into some of the other pots, so the actual end result is less.
Yeah,
because you have to pay.
Know that before you as you sign the contract, with the platform, I'm going to raise this, and if I raise this, you're going to have that, and I'll have this, and and so yeah. But as I say, make sure you know what you're going to do with the money beforehand. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's absolutely fabulous. Well, I don't think we did too bad for our second attempt, Simon.
No, I don't think so. Go on.
I think we still covered everything.
Yeah, I think so. And you can ask me any other questions, I'll respond.
I think from memory we've managed to cover it, and we've certainly answered everybody's questions. So I think that's what's most important.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for giving up even more of your time due to the technical difficulties. This will forever go down in my memory as one of the toughest Indie Beauty TV episodes, but one of the most worthwhile because there's so many things in there that you just wouldn't know until you've done it, and that's why sort of having these opportunities to interview founders like yourself is so important, because it is really hard to get this experience and to sort of spot the pitfalls and plan in advance. So it really is such valuable information. So thank you very much for giving us so much time for me.
You. Yeah, and I think the thing is you've just got to see it through. Once you're involved in it, you've got to see it through, come hell or high water, and just keep going.
Yeah.
That's fine. You know.
Be bold. Be bold. Got nothing to lose. You just got to go out there and get it and win it and do it, haven't you?
Go hard or go home, as they say. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And then spend the next few days after it's finished recovering and celebrating. In your case,
book a holiday.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But don't book it until the absolute end of the process, and then go, right, I'm out of here for a week. I'm not going to see anybody. I'm going to go off somewhere and not talk to anybody for a week.
Oh, definitely. Oh, well, thank you so much, guys. This has been our 20th episode of Indie Beauty TV. You can go, you'll be able to watch this on Facebook. You'll be able to see it on the YouTube channel very soon. And you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And I know what I haven't done. You can follow Simon. You can go and check out the Be Good brands. And you're on Facebook and Instagram, aren't you, as well?
All over Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, and LinkedIn. I'm always telling people that LinkedIn is vastly underused by beauty brands, and there is a lot of opportunity on there. You are a great example of how you can use LinkedIn to gain some
business to business. Yeah, it's business to business. It's not necessarily business to consumer, but it can be very useful.
So thank you very much, guys. This has been Indie Beauty TV. There'll be another episode later this week, but loads of indie hugs and love from me. Bye for now. See you later. Bye.